Throughout history, in all cultures, there have been objects that seem to always be followed by death and bad luck. These seemingly cursed objects range from rocking chairs to children's toys, and while we can't scientifically prove if these objects are truly cursed, we can tell you about the numerous deaths that surround these mysterious objects. Join us as we explore some of the world's most cursed objects. Annabelle. Now, you may have heard of Annabelle the doll in recent years, and that's because of the horror movie series The Conjuring, or perhaps even the film that came soon after. The Annabelle doll is said to be possessed by the ghost of a girl named Annabelle Higgins. Annabelle first gained attention in the 1970s when two nursing students purchased her from an antique shop. This seemingly harmless Raggedy Ann doll quietly sat as a decoration in the girl's apartment. That was until strange occurrences started to spook the roommates. Annabelle began leaving the girls notes around the apartment saying help. The doll inexplicably seemed to move from room to room, all while the girls were away. And in addition to this, the girls began to experience more supernatural occurrences, such as unexplained claw marks and missing items. In one instance, it was reported that the doll was even seen levitating, and the two roommates sought out the help of Ed and Lorraine Warren, the legendary paranormal investigation team from the Amityville event. After the Warrens determined that the doll was a conduit for a demonic spirit, they confiscated the doll so it could not do any further harm to the girls. Annabelle now sits in Ed and Lorraine Warren's Museum of Paranormal Objects. The Myrtle Plantation Mirror. This is a mirror that not even Justin Timberlake would be happy to look into. On the Myrtle Plantation in southeastern Louisiana, there exists a mirror that many believe to be one of the most haunted objects in the world. This object is known as the Myrtle Plantation Mirror. The mirror was once owned by a plantation family in the mid-19th century, and one day, a slave named Chloe was caught sleeping with the plantation owner. As a consequence, the wife of the plantation owner cut off one of the ears of the slave mistress. Chloe wore a green turban to cover up the unsightly scar from then on. In retaliation for the act, Chloe then baked the family a poisoned cake that killed the mother along with the two daughters of the plantation. It's said that Chloe was then hanged and thrown into the Mississippi River. And years after the plantation was sold, it's been reported that guests have been seeing apparitions in the reflection of the mirror. Now, some say that they've seen two small girls dressed in antebellum clothing, while others claim that they've seen a figure with a green turban walking around the property. Legend has it that if you don't cover up the mirror in the nighttime, spirits of the deceased family will be free to roam around the house. The Dybbuk Box. Happy Hannukah! Well, that's usually what we say around the holidays if we're Jewish. A man by the name of Kevin Mannis first purchased the Dibbuk Box at an estate sale in 2003. And upon purchasing the box, he would immediately begin to have horrific nightmares. Soon after, his friends and family began to have nightmares as well, and Mannis tried to return the box to the original owners, but they refused, saying that there was a sinister spirit living inside the box. Upon opening the box, Mannis found strange items, including 2 pennies from the 1920s, a lock of blonde hair, a lock of brown hair, and a statuette that read Shalom. There was also a dried rosebud and a wine goblet. Like the good son that he is, Kevin then gifted the box and the items to his mother as a birthday present. And that's when Mother Mannis would suffer a stroke the very same day. Other subsequent owners of the box have also experienced nightmares involving an old hag, skin rashes, severe health conditions, and other supernatural occurrences. The box would eventually fall into the hands of a museum director who was intent on resealing it and ending its tyranny. The museum director, Jason Haxton, consulted a rabbi and was successfully able to reseal the box. After resealing the box, Haxton has hidden it in an unknown location and refuses to disclose its whereabouts. The Busby Stoop Chair. In 1702, a man named Thomas Busby entered into the counterfeiting game with another local nefarious individual named Daniel Alte. Busby soon fell madly in love with his counterfeiting partner's daughter and was planning on marrying her. Daniel, however, was having none of it and refused to let his daughter marry the town drunk. He might have had the right idea, because later that night, in a drunken rage, Busby bludgeoned Daniel to death. Now it's said that after he killed him, he went and sat in his favorite chair at the local inn while waiting for the authorities to come and arrest him. Upon his arrest, he said that no one was to ever sit in his chair, and if they did, they would die. Busby was then hanged soon after. The inn, however, would disregard Busby's comment, and the chair remained in its spot until the owner began to notice that everyone who sat in it died soon after. Now it's said that there have been around 63 mysterious and untimely deaths related to the chair, and in one particular instance, a carpenter was dared to sit in it by his friends. He bravely agreed to do so, and then later that day, he fell off a roof and died. On another occasion, a delivery man who sat in the chair while it was in storage died in a horrific car accident the same day. It took many more mysterious deaths for the innkeeper to finally break down and donate the chair to a local museum. The superstitious museum curator knew of the chair's sinister past, and that's when they demanded that it not be displayed on the ground, but nailed to the wall, high above the reach of any museum visitors. Today, the chair still remains in that museum, and no one has sat in it for almost 40 years. Even though it's not been used in 4 decades, many people report that they still see a phantom figure roaming the halls of the inn, and this figure is believed to be the ghost of Thomas Busby. Robert the Doll. Now, Annabelle the Doll isn't the only one that has an unsettling history behind it. Robert is the 20th century doll that inspired those terrible Chucky movies. The origins of the doll have been traced back to a turn-of-the-century painter named Robert Eugene Otto. Otto reportedly received the doll from a servant who apparently was accused of practicing black magic. Despite such accusations, Otto decided to keep it. Robert Otto's parents often heard him speaking to the doll, and to their surprise, they heard a completely different voice reply back to him. The parents just assumed that Otto was simply changing his voice and having a conversation with himself. This was until they began to hear the mysterious voice when Robert wasn't even around. Family members say that they heard an eerie, childlike voice come from the doll when they weren't even in the same room and from other parts of the house. The parents also claimed that there were times where they saw the doll appear in the upstairs window when no one was in the house. And after Robert died, and the house was passed on to the next family, the paranormal events would continue. The daughter of the new family found the doll in the attic and said that it often talked to her, making her terrified because it also threatened to kill her. Soon after this, the doll was donated to a local museum and put on display for the public. Now it's said that you're supposed to ask Robert permission to take a picture of him, because those who haven't have experienced severe bad luck and even death. This is probably a curse that most celebrities wish that they had. James Dean's car. American bad boy James Dean was one of the most famous movie stars of the 1950s, and his untimely death at the age of 24 shook the nation. Dean was killed in a car wreck after he would lose control of his beloved Porsche Spyder while speeding down Route 466 in Salinas, California. Shortly before his fatal crash, Sir Alec Guinness told him that if he were to get in that car, he would be dead within a week. So maybe James Dean should have listened to Master Obi-Wan Kenobi on this occasion. Shortly after the wreck, parts of the car were auctioned off to the highest bidder. And that's where this story takes a dark turn. Everyone who's come in contact with a piece of the car has either experienced bad luck or an untimely death of their own. A race car driver bought the engine of the car and installed it into his new vehicle. Soon after, while he was out racing, the driver lost control of the car and struck a tree, instantly being killed. Two thieves who were attempting to boost parts off of the car then found themselves severely maimed. And during the car's final transport, the vehicle became unhinged from the truck and was thrown into traffic. Luckily, no one was injured, but since the incident, the car, which was appropriately named Little Bastard, has never been seen again. The Iceman. The Iceman might even give Frosty the Snowman a few chills up his spine. That's because the Iceman is a mummified body that was found in the Otzal Alps in Italy. The mummy was named Otzi after the area in which he was found, and scientists believe that Otzi lived around 3300 BCE, then dying from exposure. What scientists don't know, however, about Otzi is why many people who have come into contact with him have died mysterious deaths. Most of the original team that discovered Otzi has died under mysterious circumstances. The forensic pathologist was killed in a car accident while on the way to give a speech about Otzi. Another was killed in an avalanche, and the hiker that originally discovered Otzi fell to his death while trying to cross a dangerous path. Now, many people believe that Otzi is cursed and was never meant to be moved from his final resting place. And those who believe in the curse think that until he's returned to where he was found, he's going to continue to kill those who interact with him. And if that's the case, Otzi is doing a pretty bad job of it, because only 7 people have died since his discovery in 1991. There are a lot of seemingly haunted or cursed objects around the world, but few seem to be as malevolent as these. Mummies, cursed cars, talking dolls, mystical mirrors, and angry wine boxes are more than enough reason not to anger the spirits. But what about you? Do you own any cursed objects? Tell me all about it in the comments below. And thanks for watching. Jason and Jenny Carnes Lawrence, who witnessed 3 terrorist attacks. What would you say the odds of finding yourself in the middle of a terrorist attack are? Well, these days they could be growing, but what about 3 separate attacks in 3 different cities across the world?